Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It seems that Phyllis Summer's reckless ambition has finally caught up with her in the most devastating way imaginable. For months, Phyllis has been dancing too close to the fire, manipulating, deceiving, and scheming her way through Genoa City's power corridors, but this time, she's found herself in a trap too elaborate, too dangerous, and too perfectly executed to escape from. And the mastermind behind it all? None other than Victor Newman, the patriarch who's made a career out of crushing anyone who dares cross his empire. Phyllis thought she could outsmart Victor, that she could walk into his world, steal a piece of his influence, and walk away richer, more powerful, and untouchable. But what she didn't realize was that she had been walking right into a web designed to expose every one of her weaknesses, every dark corner of her past, and every illegal move she's ever made. And now, as the trap closes, the legal consequences closing in on her could change her life forever. It all began when Phyllis took the bait, a too-good-to-be-true business opportunity wrapped up in shiny tech partnerships, insider information, and promises of a strategic alliance with Newman Enterprises' most innovative branch. To Phyllis, who has always prided herself on being 2 steps ahead of her rivals, this seemed like the perfect way to assert dominance after being pushed out of multiple ventures. She wanted to rebuild her image as a visionary in the tech industry, and perhaps even prove to the business elite of Genoa City that she could stand on the same playing field as Victor himself. But what Phyllis didn't know was that the offer she'd been given came from Victor's network, a set of independent investors who were nothing more than pawns in a long, calculated game designed to draw her in. Victor, as always, played the long game. He had grown increasingly suspicious of Phyllis's dealings, particularly her rumored connection to Kane Ashby's AI technology and the whispers that she had leveraged confidential data stolen from Jabot and Newman Media to fund her latest project. While others dismissed it as gossip, Victor saw an opportunity. He quietly arranged for one of his most trusted operatives to approach Phyllis with the promise of exclusive access to corporate data that could help her leapfrog over her competition. To Phyllis, who thrives on risky gambles and secretive power plays, the offer was irresistible. She didn't see the fine print, the hidden clauses, the baited files, and the confidential material designed to implicate her in corporate espionage. And just like that, Victor's plan began to unfold. Within weeks, Phyllis had unknowingly accessed files that were digitally tagged, confidential Newman Enterprises data that had been intentionally marked with traceable code. As soon as she transferred that data into her system, the trap was sprung. Cybersecurity experts under Victor's employ traced every keystroke, every file transfer, and every piece of evidence right back to Phyllis's IP address. By the time she realized what she'd walked into, the legal circle was already tightening around her. Now, Phyllis faces a devastating series of consequences, both legal and personal. The Genoa City legal community is buzzing with whispers of charges that could include intellectual property theft, data fraud, and corporate espionage. The Newman legal team has allegedly prepared a case that could not only strip Phyllis of her assets but also send her behind bars if pursued to the full extent of the law. The irony, of course, is that Phyllis has danced around legal trouble before, manipulating her way out of criminal charges after faking her death, evading justice in business scandals, and outsmarting rival corporations. But this time, it's different. Victor isn't just out to teach her a lesson, he's out to destroy her credibility once and for all. Behind closed doors, the Genoa City elite are watching with mixed reactions. Jack Abbott, who has always shared a complicated history with Phyllis, feels torn. Despite his anger over her betrayals, part of him can't help but feel that Victor's move is ruthless, even by Newman standards. He's seen what Victor is capable of, how he manipulates evidence, buys off judges, and leverages the full force of his empire to crush anyone who stands in his way. Jack knows that Phyllis, for all her faults, may not survive this kind of attack. Yet, he also knows she brought much of it upon herself by crossing so many ethical lines that no one can tell where her loyalties truly lie anymore. Meanwhile, Michael Baldwin, who has represented both Phyllis and Victor in the past, finds himself in an impossible position. If Phyllis asks him to represent her again, he'll have to navigate the treacherous waters of defending a woman who may have knowingly, or unknowingly, committed corporate crimes against the most powerful family in Genoa City. And Victor, who still considers Michael an ally, will not take kindly to his involvement on the other side. The courtroom drama that's about to unfold could easily become one of the most explosive in the city's recent history, a trial that pits ambition against legacy, deceit against dominance, and a woman's desperate fight for survival against a man who never loses. The legal ramifications alone could destroy Phyllis's reputation. Prosecutors may dig into her history, unearthing every controversial move she's ever made, from her manipulation of Genoa City hotels to her recent entanglement with Kane Ashby's AI technology. If it's proven that Phyllis had any part in stealing or tampering with intellectual property, the fallout could include not just criminal charges but civil lawsuits from Newman Enterprises and possibly from Jabot, too, depending on how deeply her actions affected both companies. And with Victor's deep pockets and endless connections in the legal system, Phyllis may find herself facing lawyers, judges, and investigators who are all quietly aligned against her. Still, if there's one thing everyone knows about Phyllis Summers, it's that she never goes down without a fight. Even as the storm closes in, she's likely already plotting her next move, perhaps even turning the tables in some unexpected way. Rumor has it that she's been reaching out to tech experts and private investigators to uncover whether Victor's evidence was planted. If she can prove entrapment, that she was lured into an illegal act under false pretenses, she might stand a chance at not only clearing her name but exposing Victor's manipulative tactics. However, Victor Newman is too experienced to leave loose ends. Every file, every message, every so-called coincidence has been perfectly orchestrated to make Phyllis look guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt. Emotionally, this could mark one of Phyllis's darkest chapters yet. The walls are closing in, and the allies she once counted on are starting to distance themselves. Nick Newman, who has a long and complicated history with her, is reportedly furious over her actions. Not only has she dragged the Newman name into scandal again, but she's also put the family's business at risk, something Victor will use to drive a wedge between her and Nick once and for all. Summer Newman, caught in the middle, may be forced to choose between defending her mother and preserving her own reputation. The consequences for Phyllis aren't just about the courtroom, they're about the family, friendships, and future she's already sacrificed so much for. In the coming weeks, Phyllis's downfall could become the talk of Genoa City. Journalists will dig into every detail, bloggers will speculate about her guilt, and Victor will no doubt ensure that the public narrative paints her as the greedy, untrustworthy manipulator she's long been accused of being. In Victor's eyes, this isn't just about punishment, it's about example. He wants to send a message: no one crosses a Newman and walks away unscathed. Yet, there's still an undercurrent of suspense, because Phyllis is nothing if not unpredictable. Just when everyone counts her out, she tends to find a way to rise again, usually with some shocking revelation that flips the entire situation on its head. Could she uncover proof that Victor orchestrated the whole scheme? Could she blackmail someone in the legal circle to turn the tide? Could she expose a deeper conspiracy that implicates more than just Victor, perhaps even turning Newman's allies against him? These are all possibilities that make this saga far from over. For now, though, Phyllis stands on the edge of a devastating reckoning. The very system she's manipulated for years, her connections, her influence, her knowledge of corporate law, may finally turn against her. Victor's trap has left her cornered, humiliated, and legally vulnerable. She's facing a future where her business could be dissolved, her name blacklisted, and her freedom on the line. And while she's fought powerful enemies before, this time feels different, colder, more personal, and infinitely more dangerous. Victor Newman has always believed that revenge is best served slowly, and this time, his patience has paid off. Phyllis fell right into his hands, believing she could play the same game he's mastered for decades. But now, as she sits in her penthouse staring at legal documents and looming indictments, Phyllis has to face the chilling reality that she may have finally met her match. The legal circle is closing. Her allies are vanishing. Her empire is crumbling. And the one person she never should have underestimated, Victor Newman, is watching from his office, calm, confident, and victorious. Still, if there's any spark left in Phyllis, she'll use it to fight back. She'll twist, she'll claw, and she'll search for any leverage she can find. Because for Phyllis Summers, surrender has never been an option, even when the whole world believes she's finished. But whether her defiance will save her or seal her fate remains to be seen. One thing's certain, Genoa City will never forget the day Phyllis Summers fell into Victor's trap, and faced the dire consequences that even she couldn't charm, outwit, or escape. If anyone thought Phyllis Summers would take her downfall quietly, they don't know her at all. After the devastating revelation that Victor Newman had orchestrated an elaborate trap to frame her for corporate espionage, Phyllis has gone into full survival mode. The fiery redhead who's been called everything from a genius to a menace isn't about to surrender to Victor's brand of ruthless justice. But as the courtroom drama begins to unfold, it becomes painfully clear that Phyllis has underestimated just how deep Victor's influence runs, not just in business, but within the legal system itself. The weeks leading up to the trial are pure chaos in Genoa City. The Newman legal team moves swiftly, filing charges that paint Phyllis as a cunning corporate thief who deliberately stole Newman Enterprises' proprietary data. To make matters worse, Victor's attorneys have obtained digital records, emails, and timestamps, all seemingly airtight evidence that places Phyllis at the center of the crime. Michael Baldwin, who once defended Phyllis through countless scandals, reluctantly steps back this time, realizing that taking her case would pit him directly against Victor, his longtime friend and client. Without Michael's expertise and connections, Phyllis finds herself scrambling for legal representation. Enter Avery Bailey Clark, Phyllis's half-sister and one of the sharpest attorneys in the region. Her return to Genoa City shocks everyone, especially Nick and Summer. Avery has always had a complicated relationship with Phyllis, but when she hears how Victor has cornered her sister, she can't help but step in. Avery's reputation for dismantling even the most formidable legal opponents gives Phyllis a sliver of hope. But even Avery knows this battle will be unlike any other, because Victor Newman isn't just fighting to win a case, he's fighting to annihilate Phyllis's entire legacy. Behind the scenes, Victor is as calm as ever. From his office at Newman Towers, he oversees every move, the lawyers, the public relations strategy, and the carefully timed leaks to the media that ensure Phyllis's reputation continues to crumble. Victor's plan is as much about humiliation as it is about justice. He wants the world to see Phyllis as the reckless woman who thought she could play in his league and failed spectacularly. And every headline in the Genoa City Chronicle drives that narrative further home. Phyllis Summers accused of high-tech espionage, Newman Empire strikes back, and Victor Newman vows to crush corporate criminals. The trial begins in dramatic fashion. The courtroom is packed with reporters, lawyers, and familiar faces from Genoa City's elite. Jack Abbott arrives quietly, sitting in the back row, his expression unreadable. He knows Victor too well, he's been on the receiving end of Newman's wrath countless times, and deep down, he fears Phyllis doesn't stand a chance. Summer, torn between her mother and her grandfather, tries to remain strong, but the sight of Phyllis being led into court, pale but defiant, nearly breaks her. Avery opens her defense with a blistering argument. My client has been framed in an elaborate act of corporate entrapment designed to destroy her credibility and career. The evidence presented by the prosecution was not found, it was planted. It's the kind of argument that grabs attention immediately. Avery accuses Victor of using his power and influence to manipulate law enforcement and bend the system to his will. But Victor's legal team, led by the cold and calculating Leslie Michelson, fires back with precision, presenting digital logs, emails, and testimony that all point to Phyllis's direct involvement in the theft of confidential Newman data. Then comes the real bombshell. Victor has a surprise witness, someone who, when revealed, sends shockwaves through the courtroom. It's Kane Ashby. The very man whose stolen AI technology Phyllis allegedly used months earlier now testifies against her. Kane claims that Phyllis approached him under false pretenses, tried to manipulate his team, and ultimately benefited from stolen technology linked to both Jabot and Newman media systems. The implication is clear, Phyllis didn't just steal from Victor, she built her entire tech comeback on a foundation of deceit. Phyllis is blindsided. Her fury at Kane is palpable, But even more painful is the realization that Victor has somehow turned every one of her past misdeeds into ammunition against her. Avery tries to discredit Kane, bringing up his own history of deception and corporate scandal, but the damage is already done. To the jury, and the public, Phyllis looks like a repeat offender, a woman who thrives on bending the rules for personal gain. Outside the courtroom, Victor's PR machine is in full swing. Newman Enterprises releases a public statement emphasizing its commitment to ethical business practices and zero tolerance for corporate theft. The timing couldn't be worse for Phyllis, whose hotel business suffers immediate backlash. Investors pull out. The press labels her a liability. The woman who once prided herself on being one of the most formidable independent forces in Genoa City is now struggling to keep the lights on. But as bleak as things look, Phyllis still has one last card to play. During the discovery phase, Avery uncovers a shocking inconsistency in the Newman files, a hidden metadata trail suggesting that the so-called stolen files had been uploaded from a secure Newman server before Phyllis ever accessed them. It's a small clue, but it's enough to suggest that someone inside Newman Enterprises may have set Phyllis up. Avery suspects one of Victor's employees, or perhaps even one of his own children, may have manipulated the data to help frame her. When Avery confronts Victor's attorneys with the evidence, the courtroom erupts. The judge demands an explanation. For a brief moment, it looks like Phyllis might finally have the upper hand. But Victor, unshaken, coolly requests a recess. Moments later, he emerges with yet another surprise, a signed affidavit from the Newman IT director stating that the metadata discrepancy was due to a routine server backup and has no bearing on the authenticity of the evidence. Victor's influence strikes again. The judge accepts the explanation, and Phyllis's flicker of hope is extinguished. As the trial drags on, the emotional toll begins to wear her down. Phyllis's confidence gives way to exhaustion. She spends long nights at the Grand Phoenix, staring out over the city she once ruled, wondering how everything went so wrong. In her quieter moments, she questions not only her choices but her identity. Has she always been this reckless? Has her need to outsmart everyone, to win at all costs, finally destroyed her? It's a haunting self-realization that even Phyllis Summers, the queen of reinvention, can't shake. Meanwhile, whispers begin circulating that Victor's motives aren't entirely about justice. Some say he's using Phyllis as a distraction, a pawn in a larger game to consolidate power and eliminate potential threats within Newman Enterprises. Others speculate that his true goal is to push Jack Abbott into retaliation, reigniting their decades-long feud and diverting attention from internal Newman conflicts. Whatever his reason, Victor's precision in dismantling Phyllis's life is chillingly effective. Avery, refusing to give up, decides to take a more personal approach. She meets with Nick Newman privately, appealing to his lingering affection for Phyllis. "You know your father," she tells him. "You know he doesn't just punish people, he destroys them. You can't let him do this to her." Nick, torn between loyalty to his father and his history with Phyllis, finds himself at a crossroads. Deep down, he knows Phyllis isn't innocent, but he also knows Victor is capable of twisting the truth to fit his agenda. In a surprising turn, Nick secretly provides Avery with access to internal Newman communications, hoping to help her find proof that Victor manipulated the evidence. What Avery finds next could change everything: an encrypted message from one of Victor's legal consultants, timestamped days before the supposed data theft, discussing how they would ensure traceability to Phyllis's devices. It's the smoking gun they've been searching for. The next day in court, Avery presents the document. The room goes silent. Victor's expression doesn't falter, but a flicker of irritation crosses his face, a rare crack in his otherwise unshakable armor. The judge orders a review of the document's authenticity, and for the first time, Victor's legal team looks uncertain. The jury senses it too. Maybe, just maybe, Phyllis has been the victim of an elaborate Newman power play after all.